Hey, welcome back to another exciting episode of our Arcane Companion series. This week we'll be covering episode 5, Blisters and Bedrock, as we are in, this is part 2 of part 2, um, if you want to go it that way. Head over to Patreon, sign up there. Don't miss out on the Showboys exclusive items there. We do have 2 Steelbooks that we want to give away of season 1. One Vi, one Jinx. So want to give those away. So definitely like, comment, subscribe, do all those things. Join the Discord because we have good time in there, especially around Black Friday and autumn sales on Steam. Everyone crawls through the bowels of Steam looking for deals, and I just can't keep up. Mike keeps adding to his wish list. I refuse to add anything to mine. I'm done. I'm boycotting buying games for the year. Got to cap it. Venom, you're always in there. I saw you yelling about some game you started playing. You're
Oh
just
my
like,
god.
I hate this game, and
It's
I was
it's
like,
league related too. Yeah.
oh,
I
nice.
started playing Mage Seeker, one of the all of the Riot Forge games were at a massive discount for Black Friday. So I finally picked up Mage Seeker and Ruined King, which are two of the side stories, and I'm mostly interested in them because they are supposed to be lore accurate. So I kind of wanted to play through the stories and get a feel for the one. The one I'm playing right now follows Silas as he breaks free. Silas is a mage, and in Demacia, magic is kind of frowned upon. And Silas breaks free and kind of leads a mage revolution against the people in power. So I'm playing through that. It's a little bit like a Hades-esque kind of play. The missions are separate, but you go back to a main
Hub.
station basically and upgrade after finishing a mission, then go back out. But the mechanics are very similar. You have a dash and you have abilities on each of your keys and everything, and you can upgrade your abilities to do different things as you play and everything. But I am a glutton for punishment, so I instantly go in on the hardest difficulty, not knowing anything about the game. And the some of the hit boxes and motion, because he uses he has chains attached to his arms from when he was captured, and he's
nice.
using
Kratos.
those chains as like grapple hooks and everything to pull you around. So a lot of the missions rely on you being very fast and accurate with grappling around to avoid damage and hit enemies without getting attacked back. And the hitboxes and quick snapping of some of the abilities are very, very, very frustrating on the highest difficulty. So,
Naturally.
yeah, it is taking me a significant amount of time and frustration level to make it through, but we're getting there.
I take the opposite approach. I put on like the most moderately easy, not the easiest, but like almost story mode, because I'm like, this will make me enjoy the game the most, have the most chance of completing the game. And if it's that good, I'll just bump the difficulty up next time.
Right. My problem is I'm never going to go back and play a game again. So I just force myself to try and do it the hard way the first time, and then I get about 50% through, hate everything about it, quit, and then never come back. So, but I'll make it through this one for sure.
Okay. Yeah, those darn hit boxes.
Yeah.
Just can't get around them sometimes. Anyway, how are you doing tonight? You ready? You ready for recap episode 5? We got to stop right at 5 because it's gonna be hard. But like, 5 and 6 is like,
it's not going to be hard for me because it's been about 2 weeks since I watched 6 last. So
good.
I know it's a really good episode. I don't remember what happens in 6.
I was in a really sleepy state. I remember like the visuals of it. But
I know what happens in the last 5-ish minutes of 6. Which
Yeah,
is more than I can say about episode 3. So we should be an improvement over Act 1's closer.
have I forgotten episode 3 already?
It's okay. There's nothing in episode 3 that's really all that important.
Wow, that's all but like 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving did a number on me.
Right.
I don't know. I'm just completely blank slate. Like I go to work tomorrow and I'm just be like, it's a brand new day, brand new job, basically, I feel like, because I don't remember anything from last Tuesday. But yeah, anyway, we can get going here. And we open with us yeah, it was more traditional. I'm getting, these intros are becoming less like shocking and abrasive and a little bit more, I think, just like kind of routine and fun. This one was like very much in the animation style, and it was really Vi. And much like last week, I think you called it like we're gonna get the let's catch up on all the characters we did not see in the first episode of this arc. And this episode is a very much repeat of the second episode of the season, which was the middle part of arc 1. So like this episode is just completely, hey, everyone we did not explore in the last episode, they're all in this one, all of them. Which is cool. But like this one definitely feels like the time jump even more so, because I was it didn't really resonate with me well. I thought it was kind of lazy, but like very cliche of like Vi to have like hit rock bottom over a breakup. And like her sister, she's got a lot of things going on too, but like they did emphasize like the breakup portion of it quite a bit. And like she's just in fight clubs, in the rings, in the underground, just like slugging it out, getting beat to crap, drinking, just like rock bottom. And I don't know, I just thought it was like very like, we've seen this so many times. It's not really doing anything for her character, because I know within moments, in the episode, we're going to quickly move away from all of this. So it's just like a quick, like, hey, this is what Vi's been doing for, 3 to 6 months. Does it have any impact on the story? I don't think so. It adds absolutely nothing to a character. And like, it doesn't, other than the one, what was it, the enforcer that walked away from Caitlin?
Loris, I think his name is. Yeah. You see he went and found her and everything, but I don't think this, if I recall correctly, this does not have a very large impact on the story in any way, shape, or form. It just kind of explains, hey, this is why you didn't see Vi in the previous episode. And then she gets rescued by Jinx, tries to murder Jinx, and Jinx tells her some pretty shocking news.
Yeah, in a kind of cryptic way. And that's the other thing. Like, I don't know, this just felt like it was cool, but it wasn't, because it's just like Jinx shows up and just like I said, instantly pulls Vi out of this part of the story. Like she could have been doing absolutely anything under the sun. She could have just been like vacationing in the tropical part of the, Zon. Who knows? But yeah, and she, she's like, it's Vander, and like he's alive, but doesn't really explain anything beyond that. And they kind of go on this hunt for her, and we get the sense that like Jinx is tracking Vander, and like the whole time Vi's like, why, what are we doing? Like, why would he be down here? Why are we going about it this way? Just like, where is he if he's alive?
Yeah, you can tell she definitely doesn't necessarily believe Jinx, but she's going along with it because she's got this recurring problem of always trusting other people, apparently, no matter how many times she gets burned by someone. You've got Caitlin over and over and over again, which of course led her to the Fight Club thing. And then you've got Jinx. She keeps trying to believe that Powder is still in there, and it's not Jinx. Powder is still her sister and everything. And which is probably part of what led to the destructive Fight Club joining, just lose it. But she's very clearly got a problem with always trusting people despite them showing she probably shouldn't.
So. Yeah. And I didn't have any issue with Jinx and her like have like quickly just like you know, getting back on the same team, or at least not trying to
Right.
kill each other, because I do feel like where we left them at the end of the first arc, I think that fight resolved their issues, right? It was kind of like a net neutral, like no one lost, no one won.
Right.
Um,
No
everyone,
one, no one left that situation feeling good about what was happening. I think
right?
for the two sisters, like neither of them left that feeling overly happy with how things had went down. You can tell there's still a lot of sisterly love there, and we do get that later on. Of course, you get them down in the cave, being mad at each other and kind of beating each other up again.
Yeah,
And just the sibling bickering kind of back and forth. And I yeah, I didn't find it overly off-putting that they kind of are able to make amends after episode 3. Like you said, they have the big fight. Neither of them end up dying like they had intended, and something in that fight, where Isha shows up and kind of stops Vi from taking out Jinx, and Jinx basically asking Vi to kill her,
hmm
kind of reawakened in Vi, I believe, that kind of sisterly bond. And it's never really gone away in Jinx herself, for her credit. So it didn't feel off that they kind of
yeah.
made
No,
amends through this.
they definitely jog. They definitely scratched the whole like, yeah. I mean, they're sisters. Like, they have no reason to eternally hate each other. Like, they kind of got over their fight, and now they're kind of just like net neutral. Like you said, no one won. And probably they're kind of exhausted anyways. Of like,
Right.
well, Vi is definitely exhausted. Like, she's basically
Yeah.
rock bottom. She has like no care to like, why do I need to hate you right now? Like whatever. Whereas like Jinx, like you said, she never lost that sisterly bond, but now that Vander's back, she has like a reason to like go get Vi, because it's like the
Right.
one thing that they both kind of held on to where I need to go tell my sister this. Like, regardless of what our history is, she probably needs to know. This is big
Right.
news. So yeah, that all kind of like checked out, which I liked, and it flowed pretty well. Even though, like, from like a outward perspective, it's like the season is like resolving things quickly. Like, we're kind of really moving through like
Yeah.
elements, and that's like, and especially in this episode, and obviously a little bit of foreshadowing to episode 6. Like, this season is completely different than season 1, right? They definitely didn't like continue the pace and tone of season 1, because season 1 is like very grounded and like very linear. Everything has like some deep consequences, right? Like Silco, his plans, like everything just seemed to really click together. Whereas like, I don't know, things are very abstract this season.
Right.
And I can't tell if that's good or bad. Like
I'm
like
I'm
I said
guessing.
in earlier episodes, like visually, like it's hitting all the right notes, and like it's a
Right.
great animation and all of that. But like, I'm still trying to like wrap my head around the story, and I probably have to see the whole thing before I really cast judgment on it. But like, I didn't feel that way about 1, because like when I rewatch 1, I'm like, oh yeah, this whole like everything we're doing here, like it's clicking, it all makes
Yeah.
sense. Um, I'm not sure. I'm not sold yet.
Right. Right. Episode 2 or season 2 has a lot of explaining to do yet for itself, where season 1, every next step seemed logical. And
Yeah.
that is probably a bit intentional, because obviously your main driver in season 1 is Silco, and he's the big brains. He's got everything planned out, step and step and step in
hmm
advance, and that goes how episode or season 1 follows that path. So Silco is season 1, and now that Silco is gone, season 2 kind of takes this chaotic aftermath of it's headless at this point. There is no plan. Everything happening in season 2 is a reaction to what happened in season 1. So it makes sense on the kind of macro scale.
Yeah. And
Behind
same thing with
the
Piltover.
scenes.
Like Piltover, like Hex Tech, like the science, the council, like all that was very in step with itself, just like Silco was in step on the Zon side. Like
Right.
everything, yeah, you're right. Like it's complete order and like the way things are, and like how do we like break that? And everyone's trying to like break out of the way things are, whether it's Jace and Victor trying to like revolutionize things and like make things better with Hex Tech, or it's Silco trying to like control everything. And everyone around them, they're just trying to break out of these cycles, and then it all kind of does fall apart. And they're like, yeah, this season is really just like a completely like new world, especially when you like factor in like Victor's journey
Right.
here as well. And like no council and Bessa and Caitlyn are basically in charge. Because as we learn, like, yeah, there's a whole lot of all the old guard is gone completely.
Yeah.
Which from a macro level, if you think about it, yeah, like it is pretty disgruntling the fact that everything that existed in season 1 is really kind of gone.
Yep. All the voices that were kind of guiding and got them to where they were have died or disappeared at this point. And they're left reeling with these consequences, and it makes sense then with how Mbessa was able to work her way in so quickly, and how she was able to get Caitlyn in there as her pawn and everything. So I mean, they do, when you step back to take a look at season 2 as a whole, it makes sense what they are doing and why they are doing it. Just in the moment when you're watching it, it can be quite difficult to follow or understand. And
Yeah.
that theme is going to kind of keep going through this season. And then ultimately you hope that they wrap everything up well in Act 3. And it's more difficult in a series like this than if it were just a movie, because in a movie you're watching it all at once and it's like, oh, aha, that's the moment I was waiting for, the eureka, now everything makes sense. And here we are now stringing this thing out over several episodes, and everyone's just getting more and more confused as to they were on the other side. You've got Vi switching sides like 6 different times here. Kate can't decide if she's going to be, good girl cop, kind of naive or if she's going to be on the morally dark side and give way to all of her revenge and hate and everything, kind of flipping back and forth all the time. So it's definitely a chaotic season compared to season 1.
Yeah, and I think and Mike and I have always talked about this. Like, obviously, there's series that go too long, right? And
right,
for different types of shows, like 5 seasons, 4 seasons is really nice. I think it's hard though when you just have 2 seasons. And they're really like, you literally have 2 things to like compare against each other, versus like I think 3 seasons would have been very lovely for Arcane, because I feel like it would have more gradually led to this point, especially when we talk about Victor, Jace, and the whole, the organic, right, or the natural Hex Tech,
natural rune stuff going on.
Yeah, that's where that kind of like, I don't know, like just very quickly we move into that, and I think it's difficult because we're looking at just literally 2 things and just comparing them, and like they're 2 completely different things, versus having that middle ground where they kind of blend a little bit more. Because I do feel like we are building towards something like really big, but it's just like so drastic because we came from such a very stable season 1, and all of a sudden, like, it's just now we're just ramping all the way up, that exponential curve, of Arcane.
Yeah, you hit, was it episode 8 or episode 9 in season 1, where all of a sudden, you have Jinx basically dead into suddenly superpowers. And I remember feeling the same way about episode 9 in season 1, about holy crap, that escalated super quickly. And all of a sudden the season is over, and I felt like episode 9 didn't explore all of the things going on to lead up to that point enough. And like you said, season 2 so far has definitely felt that same thing. We've got these big gaps in understanding as a viewer of, hang on a sec, what exactly is going on here? I need more information. Like, what is all this organic rune stuff going on? And why are characters just disappearing for 3 episodes at a time? And we're skipping over time and stuff like that to get it. It does make it feel like they're kind of rushing through things, and that you could have at least done with perhaps another act or something like that. There's nothing saying that season 2 had to be 9 episodes. You could have made it a little bit longer if there was more stuff that could have been added. But ultimately, it's going to come down to how well do they end it? How well do they tie it up and bring us around to understanding what's going on?
Yeah, completely. And maybe there's just a lot more in this season where it's like there are the things that are very linear and making sense, but then there are quite a few things that are like, I hope there's like some back explanation that ties it all together, because if there isn't, that's where like I started to be like, why?
Yeah,
but
like, where the hell has Jace been and what happened to him? Man, that guy looks rough when he shows up again.
Yeah, and it's like, I'm fine without getting exposition at the time, because that's what reveals are, right? And then you do
Right.
the little fill in back later. So I just hope we get the fill ins like
Right.
later. But we're also running out of time because there's only 3 episodes left, and I also don't want 3 episodes of like flashbacks and fill ins. So striking a balance.
Technically,
But
4. Not doing 6 yet.
right, yeah.
Right.
So to wrap up our pursuit for Vander, Jinx and Vi, they do chase him down, and we get like some glimpses of Vander on a trail. Do you know what the trail is he's chasing? Like, is it Vi, or like why did he descend so far down? Because it seemed like he was hunting something. Then when he does find them, like he's pissed and like goes right for Vi.
So after Vander, let's see, when Vander and Jinx meet up in the prison, and Vander says Powder's name and kind of comes forward from the beast. So part of the episode is with Singed getting captured and everything, and through talking to Mbessa and everything, he reveals that he believes Vander's mind has been completely lost. Right. And he believes all that is left is the beast, is the wolf. When Vander recognizes Powder in the prison, that mind suddenly comes back. So as a viewer, I believe you're kind of left needing to make the assumption that Vander suddenly comes back after not existing for months and months and months, and suddenly needs to deal with the fact that he is this blood hungry sensing beast and is suddenly alive again and has changed. So the assumption that I have to make here is that in order to try and come to terms with what he has become, he descends into this old mine shaft and basically hides himself away, gets as far away from civilization as possible so that he doesn't hurt anyone and so that he has time to try and come to grips with what he is.
Right.
So, and of course, that's where Jinx tells Vi, I tracked him to here. and he's down in the mine shaft, and we learn that that mine shaft is actually an old hideout for the resistance, basically, of Vander and Silco. That there's a the jackets, and Vander actually leaves a note for Silco after attempting to kill him, to try and make amends. Silco obviously never goes back, never sees the note, and then the stuff of season 1 happens. So the girls go down in, and they go down one side. There's a fork in the road. They go down one fork. Vander ends up actually being in the other fork, and while Jinx and Vi are fighting, Isha gets basically punched in the nose by Vi, starts bleeding, and that bleeding shuts off Vander's brain and turns on Warwick. And Warwick starts hunting down the scent of the blood, and that's how they ultimately end up clashing.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Thanks for filling that
There's
in.
It is confusing as to, okay, why is Vander down here? What do we got going on? They give you the little bit of a glimpse into old Vander and Silco.
So cool.
With who we end up finding out is the girls' mother, who was part of the resistance and everything. And ultimately, it seems like the fight between Vander and Silco that ends up causing season 1 to kick off the way it does, and Vander tries to kill Silco, is because Vi and Powder's mother dies in the bridge attack.
Right.
And that kind of pushes Vander over the edge. Vander decides to try and stop the rebellion by killing Silco, and that's what separates the two of them. So there's a lot of stuff going on in the background of episode 5 that they don't explicitly show you. You have to kind of, and again, I've now watched episode 5 3 different times. So now, of course, it all kind of clicks and makes sense. And I've seen the rest of the season. So I have all this extra stuff that in your first watch of episode 5, you do not have. Right. And it makes it a little bit difficult to understand what is going on in the moment.
Yeah, and I love the flashback. I like young Silco. Now, is Vander their father? Like, in that conversation with Felicia,
yep.
It felt like he wasn't.
No,
it was someone else.
They ask if she's told the father. I don't remember his name. They ask if she's told such and such, and she says, no, I haven't worked up the nerve. And we know from season 1 that both mom and dad were killed in the assault on the bridge. So it's not with Vander or Silco. It's just obviously these two men have a very kind of fatherly, protecting relationship with this lady. So
yeah, because they also reveal that Vander named Violet.
Right.
Violet.
Yeah. So they're obviously very, very close, and Vander kind of takes it as his responsibility that they are dead, and that's what kind of sets him off.
Yeah. Yeah, we get the Warwick Vander charging at Vi,
right.
But like she fights him, but Jinx kind of like convinces her to trust her again,
right,
and like let down her guard to allow Warwick to kind of see past the threat, right, and then like make that connection like he did with Jinx, and he did, but it was very cool because he drops the gloves and like really kind of let this thing charge at you and just pray you're not going to die.
Blind faith at that point that this thing is not going to tear me apart. That Vander is still in there, and that she drops her hands and just yells Vander, and her letting down her guard is enough to bring Vander back to the surface.
Yeah. So that was all good. I like that scene. And then obviously they have a big family hug.
Right.
Plus the little one. What's her name?
Isha.
Keep forgetting
Yep.
her name. Isha.
Isha.
So we got like a +1 to the family.
Yep.
And
Yep. Well,
it's a cool scene because it's like where they start, like, how it started, how's it going, right? That meme.
yep.
Because they're all very different from season 1 when they were last all together. Actually, season 1, arc 1, when Vander was alive,
Yep.
and Vi was very different. She was not this like complete brute, gone through it all
Yep.
person. Obviously, Jinx was powder and not completely Jinx. And then we have a plus one.
Yep. Yep. Which is still really, really cool. The Jinx kind of adopting her own um basically sister slash daughter, kind of like Vander did for the kids. Now she's
Yep.
doing the same thing to. We don't even know. Obviously, this kid must be parentless for some reason. We're assuming, since she was being chased by some of the goons back in Act 1, that her parents belonged to one of the gangs, are now dead, and she's got no one left, just like Vi and Jinx had no one left. So
Maybe
it
her
is
parents were shimmer junkies and they owed a debt, and they're both dead now.
yeah, hard to say.
Yeah.
Not around, obviously. That's all we know. And now Jinx has stepped in as kind of the sisterly figure. And Vi kind of sees that throughout the episode, how those two kind of are together. And I think that does quite a bit to loosen Vi up.
Yeah.
If it had just been Vi and Jinx in the caves together, I think it could have gone differently. But Vi sees Jinx in a powder way, almost, where she's not this crazy trying to kill everyone. She's actually being gentle and kind and caring to this other girl. And I think that brings Vi around to maybe there is still some good left in Jinx.
Yeah, and also, I mean, that was a huge part of the end of episode 3 was like ultimately she was what stopped the whole fight between them. Like Vi could have like basically was almost about to kill her, and Jinx was fine to let it happen. But she stopped that whole thing from happening. So like, obviously that was a huge like unresolved thread in Vi's mind, in terms of like she's probably thought about that a lot, because she was literally about to kill Jinx.
Right.
And this little kid stopped everything and all of that from happening. So I'm sure she's had a lot to think about on that. And then finally just kind of Jinx showing back up and the kid's still around, and like seeing her with her. Like, it's not a complete shock because that's sat with her for at least a few months.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was good. That's a good moment. Long journey.
Right.
Vander's back.
Yep. Vander's back. The gang is back together. And that's where that arc kind of ends.
And it kind of also kind of confirms that Vander is very much independent of Singe's influence,
Warwick.
at least.
Warwick.
Vander, Warwick. And like, he's kind of independent, and like it's really kind of, it does feel like it's Jinx, Vi, Vander crew, right? So that kind of like leads us back to Singe, and we kind of get a little carnage scene, the post prison, after Warwick had rampaged through, and there's tons of dead, and Bess is there. At first I thought that was Warwick laying on the on that like pedestal or whatever.
I saw that. I did the first time I watched that through as well. I don't know who that hulking body was, but
was it the main, like when you first walked, wasn't the guard that like at the desk, wasn't he massive? Wasn't he like really big
Maybe, but
guy?
that didn't really look like it was the
I
desk. That
know.
looked like it was out front almost. So I
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
don't know.
But
But
you
at
get the
first
shot.
I was like, did Mbessa take down like Warwick? Because
Right.
yeah,
Right. Yeah, you're trying to figure out what is going on here. Who is this big body out there? But you get the shot. Mbessa is for the most part just fine, like we kind of figured she would be when Warwick charged out of the train. She's got the scars down the front of her mask, but otherwise she made it out pretty much unscathed somehow. Everyone else is dead around her, but plot armor pretty strong right there.
yeah.
So she's fine. And
Inspector
then
Caitlin shows up.
yeah, you get Darth Caitlin show up.
Caitlin.
um, yeah, in her emperor clothing and everything.
Yeah.
With the yeah, she's very much on the dark side at this point.
Maybe maybe it's a misdirection because it's like a let me think. It's like Luke in episode 6 where he puts on the dark cloaks, and at the
You're
time.
you're gonna be really disappointed, but I don't have a clue anything about Star Wars.
Oh, okay.
So,
Never mind. Never
yeah,
mind.
you can say it all you want. That's totally fine. I
No,
think
yeah.
it's cool, but yeah, I could never get into those.
Yeah.
I don't watch Star Wars or Star Trek though, so
That's fine.
If you're one or the other, I'm neither. So
You play enough games to offset it.
yeah,
But yeah, Darth Caitlin enters the void, and Singe just is kind of hanging out in his cell.
right. Yeah,
And this is kind of a cool moment because, as crafty as always, and Bess is like, she clearly knew it was his doing all of this.
I'm not sure because Caitlin,
How does she piece that all
obviously-
together? Because she's like, "Hey, I'll give you like everything you want, like
Right,
unlimited
well-
funding if you come just like work for me." But like, how did she piece together the premise that like this all revolves around him?
So they make it seem like Caitlin's the one that comes to those connections because Caitlin kind of comes down and they show as Caitlin in her nice long cape is walking through the hallways, she's looking down and she sees claw marks on the ground and she pictures Warwick's claw coming out and scratching the ground. And then she sees a shield bashed in and she sees Warwick attack a guard in her mind. And then she sees the drop of blood and another drop of blood and another drop of blood leading to this cage where Singed has locked himself up. And then the blood on the handlebar where he closed it. And they make you believe that Caitlin has now somehow re-pieced this crime scene together and said, hey, that wolf was coming for you. Why did you bring him here? And Caitlin kind of accuses Singed of leading the beast there. So they make it seem like Caitlin's the one that led him there. Mbessa is in the background, of course, and looking sinister as ever. You can see the clocks gears going in her brain.
Yeah, that's right. Because back at headquarters is when she offers him all of that.
Yep. Yeah, she comes back down. She pulls up his locket, opens the locket, sees the contents of the locket, which we as a viewer still don't know. It gets revealed later on in the episode, but we still don't know what is in that locket. And Mbessa hatches a plan in her head to come back down and offer Singed his quote unquote freedom if he gives Warwick a weapon to Mbessa and also starts developing more weapons for Mbessa to use in her army. So you get Singed is now free under the condition that he now works for Mbessa. And
which I think he's fine with. He has no problem working for whoever to fund his dealings.
Experiments. Yep. Yeah. I mean, he's done this throughout season 1. It was the same way. He's just whoever is willing to give him kind of unhindered working space and resources
Yeah.
And not ask too many questions. Basically, just be like, trust me to do my stuff, and I'll do my stuff, and it'll be for your benefit. But this episode is kind of where we finally get to see why is Singed doing all of this, and this is a big revelation. So he gets the locket back. Mbessa and Singed are now in a flash forward. I believe this was a totally different part, but we're following kind of their arc now. Flash forward, Singed is in a laboratory doing some experiments. Mbessa's behind him asking, so this is going to help you capture Warwick? And Singed says, no, not necessarily. Caitlin walks in and very accusationally and confrontational, she walks in and says, I've been doing some more research in the Kiramin files, and spits out she has discovered who Singed actually is. Singed's real name is Dr. Revik, who was an esteemed alchemist in Piltover prior to him just disappearing. And Caitlin doesn't know that part, but she starts accusing him of things and starts piecing things together in her brain. She recognizes that an alchemist goes missing. The top alchemist goes missing and becomes this Singed down in Zaun around the same time that Shimmer and all of this other stuff start going on. So Caitlin actually pulls her rifle out and is ready to kill Singed. And that's when the key pops out of the locket and Singed says, everything I've done is for love, and opens a secret hidden door. And in that room is a girl suspended in some kind of fluid, basically, that Singed reveals as his daughter.
Yeah.
So that's you see that this is why Singed has been all the way back to when Victor meets Singed way back as a young boy. Singed is doing the experiments with that lizard thing of whatever flavor.
Lizard rat.
Yep. And I believe ultimately the genes of that lizard salamander thing, I believe the genes of that is actually what allows him to first create Shimmer. And Shimmer is, of course, Singed trying to create a serum of some kind to make the body stronger and more resilient to physical threats and dangers and everything like that. And then Singed says that Vander himself has an extraordinary will to survive. And that's why he was able to then turn Vander into Warwick. And ultimately, he wants to use Warwick's blood to cure his daughter of death, basically. She is either dying or dead. He's keeping her suspended in this chamber and wants to bring her back. Yeah. Now, the big part of this that they don't explain at all in this episode, and Mike would be having a fit right now as more of a lore person than even myself. Singed has never been connected in the lore as Dr. Revik before in League of Legends. And they were always believed to be two different people, and Dr. Revik in
another playable character.
Dr. Revik is not a playable character. Singed is, Dr. Revik is not. But Dr. Revik is in the lore for another character. Dr. Revik is the father of Oriana. Oriana is the girl dying in the vat for Singed. So in current lore or pre-Arcane lore,
They're
Dr.
unconnected.
They were, so in previous lore, Dr. Revik was still Oriana's father.
Right.
But Dr. Revik and Singed were not necessarily the same person. Dr. Revik was originally a someone that worked with prosthetics, and his daughter was training to be be a surgeon just like him, and had actually started to surpass Dr. Revik in abilities, and she actually took a liking to helping the people of Zaun. And while trying to help them down in Zaun, she ended up getting trapped in some toxic gases, which started to kill her organs in her body. So what Dr. Revik did to try and keep her alive is he started replacing the different failing organs of her body with kind of mechanical replacements. And that's how Oriana became, I believe she's the clockwork princess or something like that, where Oriana in current lore is this mechanical being that has almost no humanity left to her. Every time something of her got replaced by a machine, she lost part of herself. So she kind of becomes this just machine, more or less, in an effort to save herself. So the difference is, of course, now we have Singed is an alchemist, not a prosthetic doctor. And Oriana, at the time we are right now in the show, Oriana would not have been suspended in that field at all. She would have already had most or all of her organs would have already been replaced by these clockwork materials, these machines to keep her alive. So we're getting a pretty massive departure from the established lore with new Arcane lore.
I wonder how that plays out, because obviously Oriana, without changing it's fine, like using Dr. Revik, right? Just kind of retconning his role a bit, but like a playable character is interesting. Like, how are they going to arrive at playable character Oriana?
Exactly. How do we get from where we're at? Because now Oriana is dead or dying without any of her organs changed out. How do we get from Oriana in the chamber to clockwork Oriana in the game? Or do they do an update like they've done with a couple other characters? Do they do an update to Oriana's lore and her actual playable character based on Arcane? So it's going to be really interesting to see. Do we get something that happens in the rest of the episodes that fills the gap? Does Oriana still become a machine basically, or does something else happen and suddenly we have a new Oriana than what we have in the game?
Well, obviously, depending on how Arc 3 goes. And that's the thing, is like I feel like we're running out of time to address all of these.
We're getting more questions. Every episode is not giving us answers, it's giving us more questions. The only answer we have right now is, do Vi and Jinx end up back on the same side? Because you're kind of like, Vi can't stay on the Piltover side, right? She has to somehow make it back to Zaun. So we got Vi back on the Zaun side because Vander's back alive. And other than that, we are giving ourselves more questions every single episode.
And so that's where I think something like the Singed, like, it stops here. Like, it really kind of needs to stop here for the sake of not creating, like, not trying to wrap too much up in the last arc. So it's like, and especially since he's tied in with Mbessa, that just continues later on,
Right.
right? And we have more time to get to Clockwork, Oriana, right? I think that's fine. Like that just needs to like we got our answer for what Singe is up to,
Right.
right? We
What
have
is
all
what is
that.
driving him? Yep.
Yeah, like the Warwick thing's out there. Singe's main purpose is out there. It answers a lot of what he's been doing this whole time. So it's like park that, save that for like the far distant future new series. Like I'm happy if they just park that there.
Yep.
Because I have plenty of other things I want them to address before we make this about like Singed and a whole
Right.
new character that just got revealed. So it's like
Right.
park
Well,
that.
and they don't even reveal Oriana to the viewing people as they don't say her name
Right,
or anything
exactly.
in this episode. The only way you would know what is going on is if you know League lore enough to know Oriana's father is the person that Caitlin just said Singed is. So you
Unless
have to make
Caitlin's
that
full of crap.
connection. Well, yeah, there is the possibility that Caitlin comes in and accuses Singed of being this person that he's not, but then you've got very, very similar character arc of Heimerdinger's esteemed colleague with daughter who is dying leaves the council and starts doing these crazy things to keep daughter alive. So it's unless Heimerdinger has a lot of colleagues who have daughters that are dying of mysterious things, that this almost has to be the connection. And you know it's the well, you don't know it's the connection. You assume it's the connection based on Caitlin saying, "I know who you are." So you have to just kind of take that for face value and assume that she is correct.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, since a lot of that context isn't in the show, like hopefully
Right.
that all just gets parked there. No need to visit that this season. Because there's plenty of other things that need answered. And like another big one that is we got a little bit of progress here, but
Yep.
a little bit of answers, but like nothing too shocking. So we have Mel. We find her in a very rose shaped pit. The Black Rose mine prison, they call it. A reality altering prison, kind of
Yep.
like you're in some kind of purgatory stasis. And in there's someone else, who turns out to be Kino, her presumed dead brother.
Right.
Which I think halfway through I kind of saw that coming, especially like as that person came more and more to the light.
As soon
And
as I saw, as soon as I saw this person up against the wall or whatever, I'm like, oh my god, it's her brother. It's her brother. They're putting her by her brother. Yep.
Yeah. And which is nice because that's been the whole like subplot of Mbessa Mel. We learned that earlier about Mbessa, like she's after her son, or like something about her son and the Black
Right.
Rose and all that. So presumably, was it so like he gives this whole like backstory about her Mel's like fill this story in for me because like I heard it once. I should have rewatched the episode, but I heard it once, and basically
Yep.
like Mbessa went out and about. So unlike her, she fell in love on the road, and Mel's like hell no, and
Mm-hmm.
and he's kind of like and like it's all suggested that Mel is this love child of this
Right.
person that Mbessa met out and about in the world.
Right. Yeah. So it's never explicitly stated, but essentially, Mel asks Kino for what the hell? How did you get here? And he says, well, I started investigating our mother, basically. And through his investigations, obviously, Mbessa being a general for Noxus kind of goes where she pleases, does what she pleases, and apparently does who she pleases, which of course we saw in season 1 as well, where she comes in and basically tastes the local fare or whatever her words were, where she instantly finds herself guys to take care of her. But somewhere along the line, she fell in love with someone. And this love affair results in a child. And Kino doesn't necessarily say it outright, but Mel kind of starts trying to put all this together in her head, like, oh my God, who is this child? Because it could have been Kino, it could have been Mel. For all we know, it could have been a third child that we don't know of. I mean, they don't necessarily say. So they could.
In those moments though, like when it's kind of like in Mel's mind, right? Assuming like basically Black Rose is listening this whole time. That's their prison.
Yep.
It kind of so like it's in the sense that Mel pieces that together. It's like suggestive that Kino's saying Mel is this child, which then everything kind of melts away again, and Mel's put in this, much like what happened to her assistant. Like Mel gets chained up with the Black Rose, like thorns and all that stuff. So it's kind of like an aha, gotcha, right? Like, ooh, I thought it might have been Kino. Let's take him and be like, because apparently Black Rose is after this child,
right?
And then this kind of like shift aha moment to, ooh, maybe it's Mel, and we get this idea that Black Rose is listening, and it was kind of like a dubious trick the whole time. I'm not even convinced Kino is real.
Well, they kind of show you that he's not actually.
Right.
Mel makes that same discovery because suddenly there's a break in Kino's voice when he comes out. Mel is trying to escape. She's discovered that this prison that they are in is a puzzle test to break out of. So she starts trying to break out of this test, and Kino comes up behind her, and his voice cracks, and all of a sudden there's a little bit of a different voice there. And Mel turns around and she's like, "You're not my brother," and smashes his head up against the wall. Right. Yes. And that's where the Black Rose breaks out of Kino, and suddenly Kino actually flashes through a whole bunch of different people. He flashes through the assistant and a couple of other people before resting on this kind of sinister looking face that turns and looks at Mel. And then Mel gets attacked by the Black Rose magic, basically. And that's how she ends up in this kind of red dimension, all chained up. Yep, essentially. And so first off, what Mike was saying in one of our previous episodes in his deep dive on Mbessa lore, one of the names he brought up was LeBlanc, who is the leader or very high up of the Black Rose. And LeBlanc has the ability to create clones of her, not only herself, but of other people. Mm-hmm. So the assumption, again, of people that know League lore a little bit is Kino is not actually Kino. Kino was a clone that LeBlanc sent in to see if Mel is the child that the Black Rose is after. So that would be that's kind of the background connection. But again, you as a viewer that doesn't know League lore in any way, shape, or form has no way of knowing that.
And like her like trying to solve the puzzle might have been another indicator that maybe this is the child that they're after.
Her sudden, well, again, because you never really know, is this an actual physical place, or that it's like they've got Mel locked up in her own brain, essentially, and they are testing Mel, and Mel suddenly starts seeing visions of how to break out of this mind prison, which gives the Black Rose the knowledge that they needed. This is the child we are looking for. And you snap out of the big Rose prison back into the physical binding, and it's really, really quick, but the voice, the clone that comes out, calls Mel sister. So the Black Rose is after Mel, because Mel is the child of Ambessa and a Black Rose member, or some is the daughter of Ambessa and someone connected to the Black Rose.
So you think she has Black Rose powers? Because didn't she she break out of something?
So yeah, so the Black Rose, their members are mages by birth.
Yeah.
So if Ambessa and one of the mages had a child, that child should have magical abilities.
Right.
And that's where the Mel's now presumably sister has her locked up and is basically prying and they're not trying to kill her, they're trying to unlock this magic, access this magic. And that's where Mel's eyes suddenly glow and she emits this massive bright light, and you assume breaks out of the light and or breaks out of this Black Rose prison, escapes. And that's where we're kind of left ended. But everything here is pointing to, obviously, Ambessa has not been forthcoming with the correct information to Mel, has not told Mel who she truly is.
For her own safety, and that's why she kept her at a distance too.
Yep. So Mel is now presumably a mage and a daughter / sister of prominent members of the Black Rose. So now there's going to be, you assume there is now going to be a fight between the Black Rose trying to get Mel on their side and Ambessa trying to maintain control over Mel and keep her on her side. Yep. So that'll be something we got to watch. Don't get any kind of conclusion, but again, this just it answers a question of where is Mel with another question of what the hell just happened and what's going on.
Where is Mel? And now it's what is Mel?
What is Mel? Who is Mel? Who is this Black? Because again,
went from where to what's and who's.
Exactly. and as a viewer, you of course do not know anything about. We're being told Black Rose, Black Rose, Black Rose. You don't know who the Black Rose is. You don't know who the members of the Black Rose are. You aren't told that in any way, shape, or form. So again, the League of Legends followers are like, oh my god, does that mean Mel is LeBlanc's sister? Or what is going on here?
Is Mel a playable character? No.
She is not yet. She has, I believe, officially been announced as a playable character for 2025. But we haven't got to that. We haven't got to that point yet. For all we know right now, we think Mel is a mage. She's got magic in her.
Right.
But as a viewer, you don't know what the hell is going on.
Right. So, but I mean, even at the end of this episode, when she kind of explodes, I'm like, okay, she's not a normal person. And Ambessa, who's just really bad, just a badass, is a playable character. So it's very easy to say.
Just got introduced for this season. Just got introduced, and in season 1, a lot of people were calling for Mel to be a playable character.
Right.
They were calling for Silco. They were calling for Mel. Because the League players all wanted these characters, and at the time they were told, no, these are not going to be playable characters. Well, we've killed off Silco now, and he had no abilities. But now that Mel is suddenly magical, she has to be playable, right?
Yeah. That clicked for me. I was like, okay, she can do magic or something. She did that. I was like, that's a move. Whatever that was, that's a move in the game. So playable character.
Is not yet. It is not yet. We know nothing about what her abilities are going to be or anything that I know of. But I have heard through Mike that she has been announced for 2025. I have not saw any articles on it myself, but I know Mike posted in one of the chats that she's coming next year.
Well, I mean, speaking of playable characters, though, related to Mel, Jace is back.
Jason's back
to kind of round out this episode. And and he's different. He looks
He's
like
a little.
he looks like he went to D-Day.
Yeah,
He looks like he hit the beaches.
he's experienced some trauma, man. He is rough around the edges.
Yeah,
Um,
and he reappears. Did he just reappear on the rocks, or did he come out of?
so yeah, so
Ultimately,
we
he's looking at Victor's conclave or encampment of
nope.
healed
So
folk.
he's not there yet. He's not there yet.
No,
In
oh,
episode 5, we get Salo
that's right.
is
Well,
at the base of the hex gate, down underground at the base of the hex
oh,
gate.
that's right.
Salo has come in to extract some of, I assume there's some kind of a hex tech power canister. He is
Yeah,
grabbing a couple of these canisters because presumably Victor needs these canisters. And of course, this is the first time we've now seen Salo since the cat lady told
just
him to
suggested to
go,
go find.
suggested, hey, go find this mystical healer down in the, I don't remember, the fringes of way far off in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah,
So Salo has obviously gone and seen Victor and has now been healed by
yep.
Victor. We
He's
still at this point have not seen Victor since, I believe we've not seen Victor since he touched the guy in what, episode 2, I think.
yeah,
Yeah,
correct. Yep, because we got
episode
caught up
2.
on everybody not in episode 1. So yep,
Right. Yep. So we have not seen Victor. We don't know what's going on with Victor, but obviously he is healing people, and these people are now they're changed. They've got these glowing runes and stuff on their body and
anti-shimmer.
everything
Basically, all the shimmer damage gets fixed by the
by
runic
the
X
wild
tech.
arcane,
Yeah,
the wild arcane magic or whatever.
yeah,
So Salo comes in. He's extracting these cores to take back to Victor because I would assume Victor needs more power or something. He needs the hex tech to be able to keep doing what he's doing. We don't ever get an explanation as to what's going on, but Salo is there. And when Salo goes ahead and pulls the canisters out, all of a sudden the room changes from normal hex tech to the wild runes, and it goes into the big glowy blobby white orb, and suddenly Jace suddenly gets plopped back into existence, and like you said, it looks like he has just been through Nam or D-Day or something. He is a survivor. He's seen some
his
freaking
hammer
wild things.
looks wild runic.
Yep,
Like it's kind of different.
his hammer has been completely corrupted by the wild hex tech, the wild runes. The rune on his wrist that was on a leather band is now burned and etched into his arm. Somehow the rune that was on a leather band, it is now literally burned into his arm. And obviously he's been gone for a long time. He's got a beard going on,
Yeah,
and his eyes are just crazy.
because we haven't
Something's
seen him this arc, so like easily in normal time, 6 months has gone by or so, right?
You would certainly
So
think so, yeah.
So potentially either that amount of time has gone by or even more time has gone by for him
Right.
in this alternate dimension.
Right. We have no idea. And of course we're only getting Jace back.
Yeah.
We don't no idea what's going on with Heimerdinger or Echo.
Yep.
Jace gets dropped back in. You don't know, was he in some kind of a pocket dimension with these wild runes? Like you said, does time behave differently? It obviously has some kind of corrupting powers, because it is changed everything about Jace, and he's just kind of dropped there with no real explanation as to what's going on.
Yeah, and he kind of completes his, like, I guess it is kind of like a continuation of his mental, because like ultimately, he kills Sallow
Yep.
with his new hammer, and he basically is like a war on hex tech,
Right.
which is kind of like all the things he's like. It's all the things that the evidence has suggested to him. So he went from being like a very staunch defender of hex tech and like
Yep.
supporter of it. 'Cause obviously, it's his
Yep.
invention, but like between his conversations with Echo, Heimerdinger, even Victor, when Victor kind of like denounced him for using it to
Right.
heal him, he's kind of like completed this journey of like, wow, Hextech is like the devil, and I'm
Yep.
here to eradicate it from the earth.
Yeah. Yep. So we don't really know how he gets there, but he does. He goes ahead and kills Salo. Before we get there, somehow we learn that these people that Victor has healed, Victor can now communicate. Like
Yes.
you get this Jace standing up, and one side of Jace is Salo, and then whoosh, they switch sides, and suddenly Salo is now Victor. But Salo says Salo is still there, but somehow Victor is able to inhabit their eyes and their consciousness, and is able to communicate through Salo to Jace, and um, proclaims to Jace that he apologizes basically for how he reacted when he was first reawakened, and says, I have learned so much. I am basically enlightened now. I have learned so much now that I've had time to think, and I would like to speak with you so I can share all of these discoveries that I have made. And
Yeah, like
basically,
he's emotional, probably much like Warwick, like Vander realizing that he's now alive again, same
right,
situation. So he's emotional, and he admitted that. But one thing I was like kind of confused with, I was like, so he killed Sallow, he's anti hex tech, but like I kind of took it as like Victor was of the kind of like wild runic power. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
so like
So,
so yeah, it's just weird because it's like Jace seems emboldened to eradicate hex tech or the runic
yeah.
what is he
So
exactly there to fight? Because
yeah,
like
yeah.
Victor isn't hex tech. He's obviously it started that way, but he took that organic direction.
Right. So Victor says, Victor makes the very astute um, discovery that, Jace, what's wrong? You've changed, and it's like, no way. Yeah, have you looked at him? Of course he's changed. As a viewer, you're like, yeah, he's changed a lot. What are you talking about? But
Victor doesn't
said,
see physical appearances as
Victor
clues.
says, hey, you've changed. You've been touched by the arcane too. So so Victor is calling the wild runes. He is calling that the arcane, where the blue kind of stuff that they've been working with would be the hex tech they've been working with. They've been kind of controlling it, where the
Yeah.
wild stuff is the arcane, is the magic behind the power. So Jace is here to destroy Hextech. Victor says, Jace, you've been touched by the arcane. So that, like you said, we're confused as to, okay, what happened to Jace? He's still got his hammer. Obviously, he has no issue using his hammer to smash in Solo's head, although he doesn't use the hammer to blast him or anything like that. So we don't
Right.
know. We don't
Unless
know,
it's
is
a
he
completely different hammer now. He just likes hammers, right?
right? Yeah,
He's
I
got an
mean,
arcane hammer now.
yeah, we have no idea. Maybe he made himself an entirely new hammer while he was in this wasteland, essentially,
Yeah.
or whatever happened to him. Um, Perhaps he's made himself a new hammer. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But he doesn't use any kind of a power from the hammer. He literally just hits Solo over the head with the hammer really hard.
Right. Yeah.
So
Smash.
Yep.
Angry Jace.
Yeah, but he does again. He does still have the rune literally buried into his skin.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not sure why is Jace suddenly trying to eradicate all Hextech, and
Why, Jace? Why?
Victor calls it one thing. He calls it Arcane. Jace calls it another thing. He calls it Hextech. And you're kind of at the okay. Is there a difference between Hextech and Arcane? Is it the same
Spider-Man
thing?
meme.
Right. What's going on here? Yeah. A bit confusing, and again, we're left with even more questions when we're answering the question of where is Jace with another question of what the hell happened to Jace.
Yeah, and where's Echo and Heimendinger?
Yeah, and we're still left with the where's the other two. So
Yeah.
we're still not really answering any questions overall here, and getting more and more confused with each episode, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
I have no lore explanations for what is going on in this part. There is nothing that says Jace pops out of the wild D-Day experience and starts murdering people.
Right.
So I don't really have a better explanation of what's going on.
Yep, and there's like gotta watch episode 2 or episode 6 after this.
Right.
Because you kind of have to, and I had to. But we'll save that for next week's episode. But I
Yep.
definitely had to keep going because I was like, yeah, you guys just left me with way more setup and unanswered questions. So I'm gonna hope this next episode does something.
Right. Yeah.
In the way
Episode
of
5,
like
doing a better job at making you want to watch the next episode than episode 3.
Yep.
Episode 3, terrible at its job.
Yeah, not good.
I'm going to keep hammering that one home because man, I was not overly excited after
You're
episode.
like, oh, this is over.
Yep.
Just not gonna watch anymore.
Right.
Arcane's
Exactly.
over.
Yeah. Episode 3 got done, and I'm like, I don't care that there's not more episodes because I don't think I would have watched them.
Right.
And yeah, now we get episode 5 is definitely pushing you into episode 6 here.
And it's the first inkling of like, okay, they are really about to ramp things up because like we are getting a lot of revealing information that isn't. It's just revealing how much we don't know about what's really going on overall with this story. So that's really the main driving factor. Where it's
and they focused so much of the episode on the smallest part of the story.
Yeah.
They focused what 70% of the episode on Jinx and Vi getting back together.
Yep.
And it's like, well,
it's not the show is about them.
Exactly.
I guess.
But it's about them, but it seems like they focused on that to the detriment of we've got 3 other stories going on here now with the Mbessa Caitlyn is now intertwined with Singed. You've got what the heck is going on with Mel, and you've got what the hell is going on with Jace now as well. Yeah. So you've got 60% of the episode focused on a couple of girls wandering through the underground looking for their dad, and then you've got the other 40% on these 3 stories that
seem very important.
The general viewer is going to look at these and be like, these are super important, and I have no idea what is going on.
Right.
So it's just another one of those things where it's their priorities seem to be intentionally off. I don't know, but hopefully they're able to resolve all of this. Because they're stacking up a whole bunch of questions and a whole bunch of confusion while focusing on the easy stuff, kind of.
Right.
So yeah, we'll have to see.
Well,
does episode 6 bring us any kind of extra closure on what's going on?
Yeah. Well, you said, I mean, this episode really kind of like makes you want to watch the next one immediately because there's so much happening. But like you said, so much happens in like little bursts while the main focus is on the sisters. So it's like, yeah, you end this one with like, we really need to get going here because I need some answers. And that's when we'll recap episode 6 next week.
Yeah.
But I think we hit everything. That's the bulk of it. And this one really kind of hangs it with Mel still gone. But hey, here's
Mel
Chase. He's back.
Mel
and
just
he's killing
exploded.
people.
Yeah, Mel just exploded in a giant flash of light. Singed just suddenly has a daughter. Jace gets dropped back out of
wherever
and starts murdering people.
He looks a little loony.
And oh, by the way, Jinx and Vi are happy with each other again.
Yay.
So that's where we're left.
Yep. Well, appreciate everyone tuning in. Tune back in next week. We'll cover episode 6, which I'm excited to do. I know you're excited for that one. Like you said, I think you've said it's pretty up there in your favorites.
Yep. We're going to have the conversation, hopefully, that does episode 6 surpass season 1, episode 3?
What? There's that. And then I'm really, really excited for the last 3 episodes because they got a lot of work to do. Yep. Well, subscribe, comment, like, hop in the Discord, join the Patreon. Until next time, catch y'all later. Thank you for tuning in. Peace.